Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
CGO.
CGO or George. Quick reminder: please like us, subscribe us. We release every day, long form YouTube, short form Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. We're releasing this on May the 9th, 2026, and we are going to preview the Premier League games for this weekend. We have Liverpool hosting Chelsea, Fulham hosting Bournemouth, Sunderland, Man United, Brentford hosting Wolves. Man City is hosting the greatest team in England. That's Brentford, of course. Nottingham Forest hosting Newcastle. Palace hosting Everton. Burnley hosting Aston Villa. West Ham hosting Arsenal. And Tottenham hosting Leeds. Quick question, George. Initial question. What is the worst fixture, the least exciting, least dramatic fixture this weekend, in your opinion?
I think it's better we say the least interesting because if we say the worst, a lot of people will misunderstand us.
Yes.
If I'm to say, I think I would pick the game between Sunderland and Manchester United. That's the game that I feel will be less interesting, even though a player like Bruno Fernandes will try to see if he can equal the record of Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne when it comes to providing assists. Currently he has 19 assists. These guys had 20. So if he's able to provide an assist tomorrow, then he equals the record. And if he's able to score 2 assists, then that means he will set a new record for assists. So I think that will be a motivation for him in that game. But that's the game I feel will be less interesting because Manchester United has already cemented that third spot from the look of things. They secured their place in the Champions League. So I don't think there is any kind of threat for them. And then Sunderland, I don't think they are in the conversation when it comes to maybe making it for Europe. I think that era is gone for them. That's what I feel.
I also think Nottingham Forest Newcastle will not be the most exciting game. Neither of these teams have anything to play for. Nottingham Forest isn't mathematically safe, but they're safe for all intents and purposes. Newcastle also, I think they're mathematically safe, but they really don't have a realistic chance at Europe. I think that both of these teams are exhausted. I think there's a good chance that Eddie Howe leaves at the end of the season. I think that that might have run its course, but I don't think that's a very exciting game. All right, George, let's move on to maybe more exciting things. We have 2 title contenders this weekend. Man City hosting Brentford and West Ham hosting Arsenal. Which title contending team for you is more likely to drop points this weekend?
Well, Manchester City playing at home, definitely they have an advantage if we are being honest here. And one of the motivation for them in this game is trying to see if they can win the title, even though it's no more in their hands. I feel playing at home, they have that home advantage. And then when you consider the quality of players they have, I think that will give them an edge. So when you look at the game, with the quality of players they have, I think they have a cutting edge over Brentford. Even though Brentford has been very good this season, they've really been playing very well. The only challenge is most times they don't take their chance. They don't convert the opportunity that comes their way, especially Igo Thiago, especially in the recent time. He has been very wasteful in front of goal. So that is one of the concerns I have about Brentford. In times of creating the chances, they will create the chance, but putting it at the back of the net, that is where the issue is. And when you are playing against a team like City and you don't take your chance, you will pay dearly for it. So if you ask me, I think City will most likely win. The only people that I feel might have some little challenge that might likely drop point in this fixture is Arsenal because they are playing away. West Ham, they are battling their life, trying to see if they can escape relegation. The way it is, they can't afford to even drop a point in this game because dropping a point, Tottenham is playing at home to Leeds United, and with the way
George, this is a relegation race, not a title race. They can afford to drop points. They only need, realistically 4 points in the last 9 to escape relegation. Either of these teams, because both teams are going to drop points. There's a reason they're in the relegation. This is not a title race. relegation teams drop points. They're bad for a reason. I disagree the fact that West Ham can't afford. I also think that Man City, Brentford. I think Keith Andrews has gotten figured out a bit, and Pep Guardiola is one of the best coaches around at figuring out a coach. This is Keith Andrews' first season coaching, and he's done exceptionally well. But oftentimes, coaches get their tactics get figured out. I think this happened a lot with Slot too towards the end of last season, where he really struggled, and as coaches kind of figured out how to counter his plan A. It happened with Pep as well, and Pep was at the end of his first season, towards the middle of his first season at Man City, and Pep was able to innovate around it. I think Keith Andrews will be able to. I think or Slot will be able to, but I think that's a big reason that this Brentford team has stagnated. As well as I'm not sure how motivated we are to get in Europe. I was a fan, of course, am, but the players. You're right, George. We haven't played awful. It's just it was a little bit wasteful, and we were more clinical earlier in the season. Those numbers average out over the course of the season, and I'd be excited if we even get the 9 spots. But I think it'll be a good game, an exciting game. Brentford, at the Etihad, we've only won there once, I think, in 4 years. So, but we beat a trouble-winning Man City there a couple years ago, right before the World Cup. So it was very exciting last World Cup. So maybe we'll beat another Man City team right before this World Cup. We'll see.
But Joe, the question I'd like to ask you is when we say that West Ham can't afford to drop points in this fixture, remember Tottenham has 37 points, they have 36 points. So what it means is the more you drop your points, then the more closer you are to relegation. So that's the reason why I made that point. Because if they
George,
don't get a win in that game and Tottenham wins, that means the gap between them and Tottenham will extend to 4 points, which means they are almost getting closer to being relegated. So that's why it's important they go out and get victory in that game.
George, of course it's important, but nothing can happen this weekend that will bury West Ham. Even a loss by West Ham and a win by Tottenham. Like Tottenham is a relegation candidate for a reason. It's very likely they will lose the last two. It's very likely that West Ham, who's been a better team this spring than Tottenham, will get 4 points out of 2 games. It's very possible. It's much more likely than it's very likely. So I don't think this is a must win for West Ham. If it was a title race, George, I would totally agree with you. 4 points with 2 games left is done and dusted in a title race. In a relegation race, I just disagree. But we can talk about George. Why don't we talk about the relegation race right now too? Because between West Ham hosting Arsenal and Tottenham hosting Leeds, they actually have 2 home games between them this weekend. I think everybody kind of agrees it's just kind of between Tottenham and Leeds. Nottingham Forest are more or less safe, 42 points. Nobody thinks that West Ham or Tottenham will hit that 42-point figure. But which of these teams do you feel like is more likely to gain points this weekend, Tottenham or West Ham?
I think Tottenham will most likely they stand that chance of getting all 3 points because if you look at the way they are playing now, they look more motivated. Their last 2 games, they got victory against Wolves. They won 1-0, and then they went to Villa Park, a ground that is not always easy to get result. They went there, they got all 3 points. So that shows a team that is motivated, a team that has been rejuvenated. So I feel their good form will help them going into the game against Leeds United. And when you consider the fact that they'll be playing at home in front of their fans, that will be an extra motivation for them. They will have all the support to propel them to victory against Leeds United. We know Leeds United, a very difficult side to play against because Daniel Farke has really done a great job with the Leeds team. So if you look at both teams, if Leeds lose that game, it won't have much effect on them because at the moment they have about 43 points now. So that's a good point at least to even if they drop a point, it's not going to be a serious issue for them. Even though if they can get maybe a victory in that game, that will finally confirm that they are out of relegation
Yeah, I think they're more or
mathematically.
less. I mean, I think they're more or less out. I mean, relegation. I think that even realistically, I think even Nottingham Forest is out. It would take a miracle for both West Ham and Tottenham to surpass even Nottingham, get up to 42 points. That would require both Tottenham and West Ham to get at least 6 points each um, over the next couple games. And Nottingham Forest have a huge goal difference over West Ham. So really, West Ham would need at least 7 points for Nottingham to go down. West Ham they probably are not going to get 7 points as we realize. It's almost certainly not going to happen. So, um, it's really between Tottenham and West Ham, and it's really interesting. Again, I feel like this is one of the better relegation races. I think both of these teams over the course of the season are probably better than any of the 6 teams that went down the last 2 years. We had some pretty bad relegation candidates the last 2 years, and it's just really exciting to see. I think one of the big boys go down after 2 seasons of 3 teams coming up, 3 teams coming down. So
But Joe, do you think West Ham will survive Arsenal in that game? Because I'm a bit skeptical if they will get any positive result from that game. That's
honestly,
the way
I
I'm
think
looking at it.
West Ham's gonna lose because Arsenal is motivated. I think West Ham will get results in their final 2 fixtures. I think it'll be a really tight title race. I think that Tottenham will get a draw, and it'll be 2 points going into next weekend with two games to go. I do think West Ham will win one of their final two. West Tottenham will probably get a draw, and it will be a very very tight relegation race. So if the results happen,
If Tottenham wins tomorrow win their game against Leeds United, then that means they are most likely to escape relegation. A win for them, all they will just need to do, and if West Ham loses to Arsenal, what it means is that Tottenham just need to get maybe one more win, and that's the end for West Ham.
we'll
That's what
see.
I think we
Tottenham
most
has
likely
won
happen.
one game all 2026. I just really don't see what.
No, two
And
games.
again, they won 2 games
Yeah, they won
from
two
really.
games. They defeated Wolves. Remember, they
That's
defeated
right.
Wolves, and then they also defeated Aston Villa at the Villa Park.
Okay,
So those are the two games they've won this year. So I think
right. So they've
they are a
won.
rejuvenated team, and the way they are going, I feel that confidence is back into the team.
I
They might
personally put a
almost
lot
like
more trust. I put a lot more trust in Nuno over Roberto De Zerbi. I think that for a relegation threatened team, he's a much better manager. I mean, De Zerbi can turn a 12th place team into a while playing 8th place team. I think a little better than Nuno might, but I think Nuno's a better coach. Instills mentality. I think he cares more, and I think it'll. But again, George, it's at that's the point where it's luck, and we'll see. George, there's other races going on. I mean, there's other games going on. So there's probably 4 or 5 games we haven't talked about. Do you feel like there's any games that have interest? I think Liverpool Chelsea is always pretty heated, but I don't think there's any real league drama associated with this game tomorrow. I think that Chelsea has basically lost the fight for Champions League, and I do feel like Liverpool have more or less already qualified.
no, you can't say Liverpool has already qualified because the battle is still on. Because when you look at the gap between them and the other teams behind them, Aston
They're
Villa,
6 points up with say 2 points with 3 games left, George. It would take an absolute collapse from Liverpool and 3 straight wins from Bournemouth for Liverpool not to qualify. That is more or less qualification.
no, I understand, but you also have to give that room for the unthinkable to happen in football. Yes, you have to always give that room for that. So now you can't say that it's guaranteed. No, they have to get a win in this game for them to confirm that yes, that you playing in the Champions League next season has been fully secure, and that's going to be one of their motivation in the game against Chelsea. Chelsea have lost their last 6 Premier League games, which doesn't look good. And I think the team, the the confidence has really dropped. So going into this game, I'm not really expecting much from them, especially playing away from home. That will become very difficult. When it comes to Chelsea attack, with player like Del Pedro up front, Del Pedro is a very big threat. Where our problem with Chelsea currently is the defense. So the defense is the only place where they have a very big weakness, which is what Liverpool will really exploit. And Liverpool has a better defense compared to this Chelsea team because with an experienced player like Virgil van Dijk, now you have such a player of that quality in the Chelsea team. Who can you mention? We know that Levi Cowell is back, but he just returned from injury. So he will need some time for him to hit top four. So when you look at both sides, Liverpool is not that good, but the Chelsea team we have currently, they are not in a good form at all. So that is what will work against them. And Liverpool will have an edge in this game. If Chelsea gets a positive result at Anfield, I will really be very surprised, considering the last poor outing they've had in the Premier League.
I think Liverpool just in general have been a better team than Chelsea for the vast majority of the last 10 years. Chelsea have had a couple good moments where they've won cups and stuff that in time frame, but Liverpool generally since the Klopp's second or third season have outperformed Chelsea across the board, and I think this season is no different. I mean, even when Liverpool's in bad form, they have guys on their team that have quality that can pull them out that the Chelsea just don't have. Liverpool have a vision from top to bottom. They have leadership. They have a coach that is the more stability in the coaching, everything across the board. They're just a better run club, and you can tell by the way they perform. And just older players, again, when they lose a couple, are just more likely to come back from that. And I think Chelsea is really struggling with that too. Younger players, it's harder to come back from 3, 4, 5, 6 straight losses than it is if you're an older team.
So do you think if Maresca was still in charge of this team, Liverpool would have a better chance of defeating Chelsea in this game?
Um, no, I think if Maresca was still in charge, I think the fundamental squad issues with Chelsea would still be there. The fundamental issues of mentality that comes of you don't have leaders in the pitch. And so if you lose 2, 3 straight, it's just harder to turn that around, and Maresca's job would be better. I do think Chelsea obviously would be in a better spot with Maresca, and I do feel like they'd be more likely to win because they would actually have a tactical plan and substitutes and all this stuff that I'm not trace you right now, but you know, they don't have Maresca, and they're on their second coach since Maresca, so I do feel like this will be quite easy for Liverpool.
Yeah, because I think the exit of Maresca really destabilized the team, and the team has really been struggling since his exit.
George,
So,
the team has been incredibly unstable for 4 years because they bought and sold 10 plus players for £500 million every window. I mean, that's a hyperbole, but I mean, Maresca brought what stability he could, so did Pochettino. Um, and, the coaches fire anybody, or sorry, the owners fire anybody that pushes back. It's really a shame. And again, I feel sorry for the club fans, but in reality, this club is going down, and there's no sign that it's going to turn around. And I don't feel like tomorrow is going to be that light in the end of the tunnel in terms of that going down. The owners have given no indication they're willing to change. So George, let's talk about maybe Bournemouth play Fulham, Brighton play Wolves. Both of these actually look like now more likely to determine the Champions League spot. They're likely to be a sixth Champions League spot. Aston Villa's a big favorite. Do you feel like this is going to be a big weekend for that last spot?
yes, I think Bournemouth, they will still like to maintain their 15 games unbeaten record. When you go by that, then that will give you some kind of indication that Fulham will find it very easy. And Fulham, one problem with them is that they are not consistent. They have good players in the squad, the likes of Alex Iwobi, the likes of Kevin Bassey. These are good players they have in their team. But the problem with Fulham, and then Wilson is another incredible player they have in their team. But the problem with Fulham is inconsistency. And then when you look at Bournemouth they have a good run of, I mean, they are in good form at the moment with players like Ryan. Players like
Rupi,
Kupri. These guys are
Evan
very good
Nielsen.
players. Evan Nielsen. And one thing I like about Bournemouth is their high press. They press you, and they come out to play. They are not that team that plays a defensive kind of game, and they are very fearless. So I think they will get a win tomorrow and extend their unbeaten run to possibly 16 game unbeaten. That's what I see.
Thanks,
Brighton,
George.
definitely they are in a good form, but when you look at Wolves is they are down. So I don't think Wolf is going to be that team that will give Brighton a very big problem, because when you look at Brighton in their last 5 games, they've won 3 games, one draw, and then one loss. So, and the Wolves has been very
Their
poor in
manager
their.
and their manager Hertzler just signed an extension this week to extend his time at the club for a very long time. He's one of the youngest coaches in the Premier League. He's the only coach in the Premier League I believe is younger than myself, which is new for me. I have not experienced younger coaches in the Premier League before Hertzler came along, so I think that's a big deal. But George, I'm going to end up with our closing questions. Number one, which of the title-chasing teams is more likely to drop points? Which of the relegation teams is more likely to win? Is the Champions League race over? And between for Liverpool and Aston Villa, and again, Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, all chasing that sixth spot, which looks like is going to be Champions League. There's a good chance. I say 60% that's going to be Champions League. Who do you think takes that race, takes the lead in that race this weekend? Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening.